Since you clicked on this video, you probably know what an SCP game is. Throughout the growth of the SCP Wiki, games have been a substantial part of its viewership. Many people have only somewhat read the more popular pages, and yet they've still played Containment Breach, or Secret Lab, something I'm clearly no stranger to. Some would say a few of these games have been influential to public perception of the Wiki, and they also get a fair bit of criticism from more consistent SCP fans. But today, I'm not here to talk about these games. What I have here today is, in my opinion, soulless, and it's a game so small, its highest player count was 28 people on launch. It's a game so boring that I genuinely doubted whether I could make a video on it. Its name is SCP Strategy. Let me give you some backstory. SCP games tend to be the same. It's really unfortunate actually, because so much of the community is so creative, yet the big ideas that are used in every popular game are pretty much anything from Containment Breach, a game from 2012 in the middle of Series 2. We're now on Series 8, there are almost 8,000 anomalies on the site, but only a few ideas get used on repeat in games. Here's a pretty major idea on the wiki. The Foundation is supposed to contain these anomalies. Why isn't there a game about that? Sure, there's a game inspired by the idea, Lobotomy Corporation, but it's technically not an SCP game, it's its own thing. When I first found SCP Strategy, I thought the wait for a Foundation management game was over. Now, what is SCP Strategy? The concept is simple. You have to use strategy to contain anomalies as the Foundation, research them, and get upgrades that make things easier, all while defending yourself and keeping world governments happy. That's a pretty understandable gameplay loop, but this isn't a game. If I can call this anything, it's a collection of formless ideas designed to mimic what I wanted without putting in any actual work. You are the administrator, so you run everything in the Foundation. You're managing anomalies, you have to stop containment breaches and pay your employees lower than the minimum wage, regular management stuff. On paper, all of this works. Let me talk about the main mechanics of the game though. First, the internal department, the place where you create sites and MTFs. A site takes up an area on the map, and one site gives you a couple action points. The more action points you have, the more research you can do all at once. You send your MTFs to orange things on the globe, where they'll search for anomalies. If they find one, they contain it. Otherwise, you gotta keep looking. Next is the engineering department, where you get various upgrades throughout the game. After unlocking the ability to research, we head over to where anomalies are kept in the scientific department. You have to research them a set amount of times to unlock all the information about them, and get research points. Research points are spent on upgrades in the engineering department. The management department is worthless. It lets you control how much employees are paid and how much money you ask governments for. Like I said, you just pay everyone minimum wage. You touch this page like once. The intelligence department shows you every other organization and their relationship with you. You also don't need to mess with this much either. And so with just the start of the game, we learn 2 out of the 5 departments are meaningless. The passing of time is also important in this game, not just because you realize you're wasting it. This thing in the corner fills up until the end of the month, and when the month is over, events happen, like breaches, attacks, and payday. That was the basic tutorial, and from here you're playing the game on your own. Your main gameplay loop is now to send the MTF to an orange spot, get an anomaly, get points from researching the anomaly, get money from the government at the end of each month, and use both the money and the points to get upgrades. And now we have to ask, what's the goal? To contain every anomaly? No, actually, you're slowly waiting for this number to reach 10,000. And there's nothing else to this. There's no story, no extra objectives, nothing. Unfortunately, this game is not interesting in the slightest. While everything I explained could work well if executed on, this game is so original that it decided to execute on absolutely nothing. Let's go over it again, shall we? I'll make a branch, and it'll just sit there. This will do nothing for the rest of the game. It just gives me a couple points to do something else that sucks. Let's make an MTF and send them somewhere, and now we have an anomaly, and research it. Cool. This anomaly will do nothing for the rest of the game. Anomalies don't have activity. They're text in a box in a menu, so they're useless, and by extension, that makes MTF units useless as well, since the only thing they do is contain anomalies. So that's 4 departments so far that amount to absolutely nothing in the end. They exist solely to get this number to 10,000. What an uninspired way to handle game progression. Now, what about the engineering department? What about the upgrades? I think this is where the strategy is supposed to come in. Whether or not you'll win in any situation is fully dependent on how many upgrades you have. If you get stuck in an event and you have no upgrades relating to it, you've basically already lost. You may as well just close the game and set your computer on fire. It turns out the only time strategy occurs in this game is in the title. Let me show you the events. the breaches, and the attacks, which happen at the end of each month. A containment breach happens when I actually have no idea. There's this thing on the bottom of the screen that supposedly tells you when a breach is likely, but I swear it's either extremely low and you'll never experience one, or it gets high for some reason and you're guaranteed to get one. So basically I have no idea. During the breach, you're shown these empty rooms with doors on all sides. What is this? It looks like the artist has never seen a building before. Some of these rooms are red and lost, and over time, they will turn nearby rooms more red until those are lost as well. You have to use different tools to stop the rooms from turning red, and after a few turns, you can use MTF units to take back lost rooms. You win when every room is above 70%, whatever the percentage means. I don't know, it's just a percentage of how the rooms are red? The event doesn't really explain what's happening. You lose if all the rooms are lost to red. You have certain tools in a breach, and each can bring back a certain percentage of room, but when you use one on a room, it causes every other room to lose a certain amount of points as well. This may sound like strategy on paper, but I think I've made it clear this game only works on paper. If you don't have the Sleepy upgrade for this, you will lose. If you do have the Sleepy upgrade for this, you will win. Seriously, the sleep gas is all you need. It saves the most of each room and brings down other rooms the least. Then, on turn 3, just use the MTF to save the lost rooms. This is a pointless minigame. Then there's attacks. If you're in bad standing with any organization, it can attack you. Actually, even if you don't know an organization, they can still just hate you and attack you anyway. That means they send in these little guys to destroy your turrets. Not sure why the Foundation uses turrets for defense, but you play through a turn-based battle with them, and it ends when either the turrets or the attackers are dead. I will say if you get attacked in the early game, it's not a guaranteed loss like breaches, but that's only because sometimes the AI is really incompetent. Just like containment breaches, this is basically unlosable after you get a couple upgrades for it. If you lose these fights in the late game, it's because you're trying to. You can also choose to attack other organizations yourself with your little guys, but you have no real reason to. There's one more event that can happen at the end of each month. Choice prompts. I think the prompts really speak for themselves here. An institute offers you access to their scientists to help you with your research. Do you take them or not? A circus has come to your town, and they want you to show the world some of the strangest objects. Do you give them anomalies or not? Donate to a charity for homeless dogs? Yeah, so these don't make any sense. First off, these all imply the entire outside world, not just governments, but the general public, knows I have objects that shouldn't physically exist. Apparently in this universe, the veil has been lifted, and everything is totally fine. Remember this, because this is Exhibit A in my case that the devs don't actually understand or care about the SCP universe. Now, I'll quickly talk about each prompt I brought up. The first one's probably fine, like, whatever, but what town am I in? And why would a circus know what town I'm in? Am I stupid? Why is this adoption place calling me out to donate to them? Why would the world governments hate me for not donating to homeless dogs? That's not my job. These prompts are goofy the entire game. There are a few that are somewhat serious, like firing your employee after they get out of the hospital, and an MTF vehicle crashing because I refused to service it. Okay, that's on me, that makes sense. The biggest issue with every prompt I encountered was that it was an easy choice every time, with no impact on anything else in the game. I seriously couldn't notice any of the changes that were supposedly happening. On top of that, for some reason, a few very positive changes just last forever. That combined with the OP upgrades issue shows this game has no balancing, and because of that, no strategy. So that basically covers everything that happens while I collect anomalies and research them. Oh yeah, researching. Let me show you the researching. The first upgrade we got was automatic researching, but you can also manually research anomalies, which means time stops and you play a minigame to get extra research points. Oh my god. These minigames made me want to do what that guy with the lightning said. You should kill— Mom, can we have Spider-Man PS4 hacking? No, honey, we have Spider-Man PS4 hacking at home. I don't even want to know how much time I spent just doing manual research because I knew it would help me get this stupid currency faster. But I hated every minute of it. The first time I thought, oh, that's neat. And then I did it again and realized, oh, that's it. You get to drink and drive, click balls, and do math, that's it? These became the most boring and tedious part of the game instantly, and they don't even have anything to do with SCP. What SCP makes me click balls? A ways into my playthrough, I decided to glance at the achievements for this game and I realized it expected me to max out all of my bases and MTF. Except here's the thing, I was doing fine already with like 2 of each. Why would I need more? You only really have time to go back and forth between 2 MTF units to send them somewhere new. There's no point in expanding. I didn't really have a use for all the extras, so I just made the Legion of Antarctica. Yeah, I just put everything in Antarctica and never touched it again. I maxed out everything for 1 second for the achievements and then set them back down so I wouldn't be losing money on their existence. It's wild the devs expect the player to make this much stuff, and you should never really be using this many bases or MTFs. Now let's look over the upgrades more in depth, because these are really something. They range from being bad because they give you access to the worst part of the game, to being completely useless, to letting you win every event. Like I said, you just need the Sleepy upgrade to beat every breach, and the extra turn in battles basically guarantees you win all combat. And if you don't have those, you tend to just lose. Or if you do have them, you just win. There is no strategy, you just click the same 2 buttons to win battles. Or you could just click one. There's a late game upgrade that lets you surrender a battle, and it has a 50% chance of making you automatically lose, and a 50% chance of making you automatically win. It's a coin flip, and losing just takes some of your anomalies which do nothing, so there's basically no penalty for losing the battles, meaning you can initiate combat yourself, click this one button to instantly win, and repeat until this whole department really is worthless. These upgrades are terrible because they don't improve your gameplay or increase your options like any other game would. They just turn the bad game design easy to beat. And I want to look at a very specific line of upgrades which really bothers me, and it makes me question how much thought the devs actually put into anything in this game. There's an upgrade called Administration Plus, and all it does is make unlocking upgrades 25% faster. It has a second version, Administration Plus Plus, that boosts the speed to 50%. This is completely useless. The timers in this game only exist to pad out your playtime. You could remove every timer and nothing would change. The game would just become better because you wouldn't have so much downtime where nothing is happening. The upgrade timer should absolutely not be there because it serves no purpose at all. Here's one thing to note: if you're in the menu and away from the big globe, time stops. So you won't get attacked, there won't be a containment breach, nothing. So obviously, if I'm getting an upgrade for an event that I'll eventually have to deal with, I'm not gonna leave the upgrade menu, because why would I give the game the chance to end the month and attack me before the upgrade is ready? Remove the timer, make it instant, don't put any upgrades, remove the whole thing, I don't care, this sucks. Some minor things that don't deserve a lot of time on their own. There's these micro quests that appear every once in a while, and they're the most basic shit. Like, it'll tell you to breathe. Completely pointless. There's no benefit to focusing on them because you'll just do them anyway at some point, and the rewards aren't good. The anomalies, they're just text, dude. Stop advertising how many anomalies you put in your game in each update. It's not impressive. That's like me saying, guys, look at how many words I put in the script. That's crazy. Look at all the stuff I typed. Again, it'd be more impressive if the anomalies, actually did something, but they sit in a list for the entire game and serve no purpose other than researching them one time. Also, the game has these weird visual bugs. The text gets spread out, the globe doesn't like it when you go to the top or bottom, the help screen is just empty. Like, there's no text in it, and it's really funny. Speaking of the visuals, wow. Game of the year. I hope you like the color blue because it's the only color you've seen. My eyes are bleeding. Since I played the game, they released different visual modes to change the color, but somehow they still just look terrible, even when there is literally no color. If you could implement a color scheme that isn't painfully bright, that would be so nice, because this looks like if I drank a lot of Kool-Aid, then vomited, and then threw a fucking flashbang. Now I want to talk about lore. People love putting stories together online. That's the whole reason for the SCP Wiki's existence. This game does not care about any of it, or if it does, it's seriously misunderstanding what makes SCP content interesting. Remember the thing I said earlier, the veil has been lifted, the entire planet knows about SCPs. That shouldn't be a regular accepted thing in a game where you play as the secret organization that contains anomalies. A major aspect of SCP games is that they are set in a world where normal people do not know the things you see. Nobody can help you. Nobody can find you. That is all completely gone here. The homeless dog charity is knocking at my door, but I'm not home because the circus is in town and I'm showing everyone there the objects that are supposed to be secret. Now, maybe that wouldn't be a major thing on its own for some people. Okay, whatever. But you can sell the anomalies. There is an upgrade that lets you sell them. I am not kidding. The only use for them when you research them is to get money, which is used to get upgrades, which are worthless. You can even buy more anomalies. Why the fuck would I do that? What benefit do I get from having this thing? I can just walk outside and get one instantly for free. My final note on the lore is in one of the useless menus, the intelligence department. As soon as you start up the game, every organization exists already. Organizations like the Chaos Insurgency, the Global Occult Coalition, Dr. Wondertainment. The Chaos Insurgency and the GOC both were founded in response to the SCP Foundation's existence. Why the hell are they here after I just made it? Dr. Wondertainment isn't a group necessarily, and the Black Queen definitely isn't a group. These things only serve as references to fill out this list. Maybe this is a nitpick, but it just backs up my thinking that the devs don't actually know the SCP universe. And just like the Foundation here is not the Foundation people have come to know, these organizations are not the same ones from the Wiki, and half the time not even organizations. Look at all of these things, and you realize that the Foundation is only being used here for its recognition. It feels like the reason this game isn't fleshed out at all is because the interest behind SCP is the only thing bringing you in, and that's all it needs. All this game needed to get attention was a fan base absolutely starving for content, and this does seem to be the best-selling game from these devs. Now remember how the game ends by hitting a big number? This is how that happens. Yeah, wow, I won. So epic. But I felt like I hadn't done enough. I spent a few hours here and had nothing to show for it. So I made the most sane decision possible and decided to 100% the whole thing, achievements and all. And I did. I sat here and got all 33 achievements. I killed a bunch of organizations. I had the Legion of Antarctica, of course. I bought the stupid-ass shop upgrade so I could sell everything, and then created an auto hotkey script so I could sell my anomalies en masse, and I got $1 million. And now, I'm empty inside. It was not worth it to play this game for 12 hours. I even stopped recording because I'd seen everything. There was nothing left to watch. So that's kinda everything I can say about the game. I think I covered all of it and made it clear why I think it's abysmal. Nothing serves any purpose in the end. The main gameplay loop is tedious as hell, there's no balance, and most importantly, there's no strategy. To top it all off, nothing really makes any sense when you put 2 brain cells to it. And look, I know I'm being really harsh, but that's because the real issue here is that this game costs money. I don't think LUXO did anything here to warrant any amount of money because the game they've made is merely a concept, it's a foundation for a future game. But now let's bring our attention to the devs themselves, LUXO Interactive, because oh boy. LUXO Interactive is from somewhere around here. Breaking news. They're from Poland. It was right here on their website. Why are so many SCP games coming out of Poland? As much as I looked, I couldn't find any info about the team or anything, so I feel weird targeting my frustration at this small faceless team of indie game devs, but I do think my criticism is valid. They've made a few games that honestly don't seem very interesting. Let's see. Destructions, the game which gives an opportunity of complete damage at the levels which were created with an idea of destruction. Yeah, I already told you, English isn't their first language, but I do respect that they got their start with small, simple games. Relaxing Kite. Wait, pause for a moment and immerse yourself in some relaxing entertainment. People seem to like this game actually. So yeah, it's kind of basic sounding, sure, but let's check out Relaxing Kite. This is really intense music for a relaxing game. It has 100% positive reviews, so this seems kind of like a Flappy Bird clone with a kite. There was an early access for it. Yeah, people seem to like it. Let's see what other games they made. What is this? Cyber Attack. And it looks exactly like SCP Strategy. Does it play the same? I don't know. I'm not gonna bother playing it, but from the trailer, it does seem to have the same color scheme, the same globe, the same upgrade menu, the same completely unrelated minigames, the same icons. I mean, I won't fault them for that. That's honestly just good use of assets. And gameplay so boring. They just show the Earth spinning for half of the trailer. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and guess they just recycled a lot of things, but I can't say for certain that it's the same game, obviously. Okay. You've probably heard enough of my opinion about SCP Strategy by now. Let me show you other people's opinions. Let's glance at the reviews. Honestly, it's kind of boring. Once you hit the milestone, there's nowhere else to go. This game is fun once, and only barely. Yeah, pretty much everything I've said. This is basically a Flash Lemonade Stand game, like you would have found in the early 2000s. $5 is way too much for it. In fact, I'd say anything more than free is too much. Shovelware. Jeez, that is brutal, but yeah, like I said, it's just watch number get big and you win, so that's a great analogy. Fun for 30 minutes. Absolutely no replayability. Kinda boring. Still think it's worth the sale price though. Yeah, so it looks like people don't think the game is worth much money. Oh, here's one from Early Access. Early Access. As expected, the game is lacking. The core loop is present, and the developer seems to have a few expansions lined up. Current state of the game is plain boring. You hack without any real consequence. Hack. Oh, Sorry guys, it turns out I've been reading cyber attack reviews the whole time, but you didn't know that, did you? You didn't realize. It's almost like these two games are so insanely similar that they share the exact same issues. In fact, this is an issue throughout all their games. Cyber attack is just boring gameplay loop, no real heart behind it, Destructions gets repetitive quickly with a final goal that's super tedious, Graveyard Architect feels unfinished and again has a boring gameplay loop. There is a very clear and obvious pattern here. Here's an actual review from SCP Strategy. I found this review after working on this script a bit, and it turns out this whole video was just me shamelessly copying the Death Rider, so here it is. This game is pretty much glorified whack-a-mole. There's no real strategy to the game because there's no real danger. Just pay your employees minimum wage and charge the nations just under max price and you'll get all the achievements with ease. When orange lights pop up on the map, send a unit to search it. That's the entirety of the gameplay. When I saw SCP attached to the game, I had some hope that there would be something cool about it. Unfortunately, the only real link to SCP the game has is that you research found SCPs to get points and read about the SCP you captured. That's it. That's the entire connection. The research is either done automatically on a timer, or you play one of two minigames that have absolutely nothing to do with SCP. One where you match a set of waves, and another that is just a ripoff of every click the thing before it touches the object flash game every beginning programming student has ever turned in as a school project, and they don't enhance the experience at all. If you're a fan of SCP, you might as well just go read the webpage, because that's all you'll do with SCPs in this game. This game honestly could have been so much better if they applied the same basic concepts to a single SCP containment facility. Make research more involved by making the player allocate personnel, make the player deal with containment breaches, and decide what containment measures are needed. Introduce outside organizations trying to attack SCP facilities. You could literally just reskin Jurassic World to be an SCP-themed game and come out ahead of this. I don't hold any ill will towards the developer, I just wish they had integrated SCP in a meaningful way and had meaningful strategy in an SCP strategy game. This honestly just feels like someone taking advantage of SCP fans by slapping a price tag and a few low-effort graphics on a name and putting it up for sale. If they actually follow up with development and make a worthwhile game, I'll update this review then. And that was 2 years ago. Now, it does seem like a couple of these concepts were added to the game, however, they did not implement them well at all. There have since been several other really good similar reviews posted to the store page on Steam, so you can read those if you so choose, but they all show the same thing. LUXO Interactive, whoever they are, have a serious inability to create meaningful gameplay. And I know this is still really harsh, probably, to say about a random indie game dev in Poland, but these are indie too, so this could at least afford to be an actual game. Now hang on, did I really compare SCP Strategy to Undertale and Stardew Valley? Maybe a little. But that's not really fair, let's be real. My criticisms are a little out there. I have actual constructive criticism coming up, but I have to throw this in because I need to make my position clear. I already said earlier, this is a small team that just makes simple games. It's quite likely they'll make a good one when they have the funds and support. You don't just start at the top, you have to build your way up. So, do I think LUXO Interactive is bad? Do I think their games are atrocities? No. But that doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, this is still a terrible SCP game, and I will be happy if LUXO only returns to the SCP property to give this game a real update with really great— Wait, no, they're making another one. I'm not gonna play this, you can't make me. Besides the people simply saying it's good, and the people giving the same critiques as I have, the reviews of these games have a lot of hope in them. People seem to like the concepts and see the potential for them to be good. And now, it's time for my criticism to finally be constructive, because I have a few notes that I think could drastically improve this game. First, I'll again shamelessly steal the ideas of the Death Rider, because they're things I was already hoping for anyway, making the systems more involved. He says research and containment, but I think this applies to literally everything. The branches should be fully maintained by me, the player. They should have an actual presence in the world. When I place them, they're not just a dot. I choose what the building is. I choose whether the facility is for containment, for research, for MTF units, or something. Maybe change the percentage of each. It's 50% containment, 20% research. You know, give me control over what facilities do what. With outside organizations, clean up the ones that shouldn't be there, and maybe choose a couple that have control over certain parts of the world, but the player can't see which parts, so placing a site in a certain location will get attacked by a specific group. Make combat more interesting by creating a whole new system for it, like certain groups use specific types of damage, or you have to choose which types of damage you want to invest in and bring into battle, so it functions like a card game or something like Pokemon, you know? what I mean? Make the research tasks specific to SCPs. Make the info about the anomalies shorter, so I can actually read them and not get bored. Don't let me sell the SCPs. Remove that upgrade. Actually, like I said earlier, remove all of them. Completely take out the upgrade system. It sucks. Let me, as the player, handpick the personnel I want on each MTF unit. I should control if they have one person for mobile research or for threat management, and when an orange blob appears, give it some info that tells me what type of MTF unit I should be sending. Make some kind of enhancement without the upgrade page that has the MTF units move to all orange blobs on their own, at the cost of just going to all of them so I don't get to choose what team goes where. Make it so I can lose the game. Make it so there's actual stakes and threats. If I lose someone, then I have to find someone new. If I fuck up in a location, the government gets involved. Oh yeah, the governments and animal shelters especially also shouldn't fucking know I exist. Seriously, how did that ever cross your mind? Remove the number progression system and replace it by gameplay naturally advancing. At the start, I should choose a country that helps me, like in Plague Inc., where you choose your first dude to infect, except here, this is the only country that currently knows the Foundation and helps them with intel and funding. The more you want to expand, the more you risk being discovered. It gives you access to more anomalies, but you're at a greater threat of losing. I can reveal myself to other countries to hopefully gain their trust and resources and build branches there, but at the cost of them revealing me to the entire world if I don't make them happy, or if I reveal to the wrong country at the wrong time. And if I'm exposed to the world, make some consequences for it, or maybe just end the game and tell me I lost. The SCP Foundation has to be secret. Make some anomalies dangerous to contain so they have a chance to cause a breach at a certain facility, and if they escape, make it so I can find them again. Here's a big one. Make the choice prompts guide important events. Your actions should stack up over time, so eventually, because you picked certain things, a certain government hates you, or a specific anomaly got away. Remove the mind-numbing research games, and for fuck's sake, please, no more blue. Turn down the brightness. These are, of course, just how I would change the game. I know that's a lot of different ideas, but this game has so little right now, an update on any one of the systems would probably make a huge difference. Like I said, they're already working on the next game, and it already looks like it has the same issues as this one, and as every other game I've listed. It's really generic, it doesn't understand the SCP universe, all the effort went to the visuals, and I'm willing to bet none has gone to the gameplay. As of right now, I don't recommend purchasing SCP Strategy, and in the future, I can't say I'll be playing SCP The Expedition. And if there's one thing I could wish for this game, it's that they came back to it and made it fun, or they can find a way to give me back my 12 hours. This was my first big scripted video, and I kinda like the process, but it took a bit. So I think I'm gonna make a smaller video next, and if you're still watching, thanks for sticking around to the end. Obviously, don't give any hate to the devs. This was ultimately just a rant about a game I didn't like, but it's still a pretty harmless game in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, I'll see ya.